Like dang homie, and it crazy that they ain't know me. Like dang homie, and it crazy, and it crazy. Like dang homie, and it crazy that they ain't know me.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy TJ Banks. Welcome to Black Perspective. I got my cast and my members right here with me. Introduce yourself. Tell me real quick.
Cam.
All right.
My name is Eli. I'm a political science major. I'm a freshman.
Okay, bet.
I'm Vincent Witherspoon. I'm a musical theater major. I'm a sophomore.
Okay. Bet. And so what this show is all about right here called Black Perspective, we're going to talk about a list of topics and ideas that have been going on, and we want to kind of like address them in a sort of manner and have different perspectives on it. So the first topic of today is we're going to talk about a man that is very known here on campus, is Ernest H. Hereford. For those who don't know who Ernest H. Hereford is, he was the president of UTA when UTA became UTA. Because at first we was called the North Texas Agricultural and something like that, Environmental Agricultural College. And so before we was that part of the North Texas aspect, he was the person who turned us into the president. And I mean, he was the president and turned our school into UTA. So what a lot of people don't know is about the other aspect of when he was our president in UTA. When he was president, about 8 to 13 organizations were Ku Klux Klan affiliated was approved through his administration when he was the president of UTA. And so, you know, he's approved of these organizations and things that was here on campus. On top of that, our football team, when we had a football team back in 1950, when it disbanded in 1959, our flag was the Confederate flag. When our team was considered the rebels, and they would run across stage with on the field with the flag. So we're going to talk about the aspect and what's it called. A lot of people are trying to remove his name. What do y'all think? How you feel? You know. Anybody want to first? Cam Beasley, go ahead and break it down for me quick.
Oh, I hate y'all.
Go ahead and listen to it. Tell them how it is.
I got to think.
So basically, I'm all for, teaching history, learning about history. Do I feel like we need to have his head on display for everybody? No, not necessarily. That doesn't mean I feel like we gotta expunge this man's name from the history books, because that's wrong. But I don't think we need to have, something that commemorates his memory.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely understand that point. Because you look at things that happen like over the summer with Charlottesville. Yeah. You know what happened there, how there was a huge riot. There are a lot of KKK members coming out who were trying to protest the protest that was basically to get the Confederate generals statue out of the downtown area, and they were like, let's put it in a museum, and they felt like they were destroying their heritage. And I'm like, well, what heritage are you trying to upkeep with that? The heritage of slavery, of racial discrimination, states' rights. Yeah, exactly. And they say a lot of times, oh, it's states' rights, and it's like, well, no, there's a bigger part of the conversation that we need to have, because that's not what it's about. And I think that's why, to me, I'm like, we don't need to be having these things paraded around as if we're celebrating it, because usually when we have a statue, it's like a commemoration, and it's not what I'm trying to commemorate. You know what I'm saying?
Just to add on to that note, yeah. It's like you don't see these big statues of Hitler around Germany.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we erase them from history. Okay. Everybody knows who he is, but that doesn't mean we gotta have statues of. Yeah, he's in museums. That don't mean we gotta have statues of him in the public for everybody to see, because that's not what our society is representing nowadays.
Okay. Well, add on to that note, yeah, of course, that's right. But, I'm not from Germany, so I don't know what's all plastered around Germany for as the aspects of what they talk about Hitler and anything like that. Before as UTA, we want to talk about the man who created UTA and the UTA, So we bring up E.H. Hereford through our tours and let them know, this is why UTA is now here where we here. And so I do agree with you on the fact that we don't need to have a statue there, but if we remove his whole name, now that's him and Davis, where our Davis Hall is on the other side of campus, they both were a part of that affiliation when it came to racial segregation and no equality and doing all these things. So we've got to remove two names from our campus if we're gonna do that. And on top of that, if you do that, you're kind of taking a part away from the fact that how UTA is now the 5th most diverse campus. You know, being diverse means you're accepting of all aspects. Whatever makes you, you is you. So if we're going to take away stuff like that, I'm not saying necessarily we give pride to those negative situations or we be boastful about it, but I feel like it's one of those things we have to address. You see what I'm saying? Because instead of going around saying, hey, rub his head for good luck. You know, a lot of people rub his head and we get extra grades on our test and all that good jazz. Instead of doing that and being, you know, dumbfounded about the fact about how he was the president, how about we address the situation? You know, UTA used to be one of these campuses that had negative aspects because, you know, all the greatest leaders had bad things around them. You know, so no legend has not had their legacy tainted at least once. You know, even nowadays, people try to find whatever they can on any and everybody. So if they're going to do this, and I mean this more particularly on African Americans, every African American leader, they always try to find some type of dirt to distort their name. So why we got to do that to only them? Why we not doing it to all leaders and all people who have done something impactful for our campus? EHF Ford, he has a negative aspect. Davis, we has a negative aspect. Bring that up. Not deteriorate their name or their whole aspect of life, but giving their history full gratification, understanding all the things that they was proud of, what they applaud, and what they was scored of, but also showing how we have died, how we are truly progressed as a school. You see what I'm saying? I feel like we shouldn't take his name down. I feel like it would be redundant for what we try to stand for here on this campus, but I do feel that his head, his little tapestry, whatever, he can go somewhere else. His little bust, he can go somewhere else. Honestly, I feel like that aspect can be somewhere other kind of, you know, I don't feel like it needs to be something, hey, rub his head real quick, you know. Hey, you know, if you would have rubbed his head in real life, he would have sent your ass to would have sent you to a training camp or something, but.
Training camp.
That's what we're going to call it. That's my horseman. Well, we're just going to talk about that one, but so. All right, so that's it for this one today. We're going to talk about the next topic another day. Oh, Cam Bees, you want to say something? Cam Bees.
You done heard everybody else speak. Say something.
I mean, his head, it don't have to necessarily be removed. I just feel like people should know like what he done before they just rub his head. Like they should know that he was affiliated with the KKK or whatever, instead of, it's just good luck, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, I just feel they should know his history before they actually just go to rub his head.
Okay. I agree. I feel that.
In conclusion.
Well, in conclusion, I think it would be necessarily redundant to remove his name from the campus or from his statue. But at the same time, you know, we need to address this history. If we want to talk about, you know, in college we're supposed to be more accepting, more understanding, and more educated. If we got to wait till college to learn more about the American history, about U.S. and how we condone slavery and stuff like that, we don't want to say that U.S. isn't the greatest nation in the world, but we still have to talk about the bad things that we've had and affiliated with. So why not do the same thing with our president, UTA? So that's what I'm saying. But we'll have to see when I see you. Have another topic on next time. We'll see when I see you. Pieces, deuces. Bye.